Hey guys, Mars Thinking here, bringing you another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and so I've decided in the end that I am actually going to do the Extreme Super Battle Road guides as separate videos, because I recorded the first couple, and like even halfway through the video is going to be over an hour long. So obviously, you know, even with timestamps being able to help you find the stage that you need to look at the guide for, that's obviously going to be super annoying. Very, very long video. So I feel like it probably is best to break it down into stages. So I'm going to record this generic intro that I'm then going to put in front of each one of the guides, because I already recorded a lot of them, you know, expecting that I was going to put them together as one video, so they don't have their own proper intro. So most of them just start with me going, so next up this stage. So there's no proper actual video intro. So I'm going to record this as well as an outro that I can whack on the end. And we're going to put these in front of all of the guides. So between now and the time that the stages drop, which should be Tuesday evening in the US, Wednesday morning in the UK, all of these videos should be out in time for the stages to be released, so you guys can get some advice on teams for beating those stages. So I think I mentioned it in each one of the guides I recorded already anyway, but make sure you let me know for this particular video, for this stage, what your team build is going to be down below in the comments section. And if there's any units that you think I missed out that I should have talked about, let me know that down below and we can continue the discussion down there as well. So if you do find the guide helpful, do smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and let's go ahead and jump in. Okay, so next up is one of my favorites, the Super Saiyan 3 category stage. So the how well you do on this stage is going to be largely based around whether you decided to dip into the Heroes celebration this year, like a big Giga Brain person, because oh my god, the Super Saiyan 3 category got so many buffs with this Heroes celebration that man, I don't even want to imagine trying to do this ESBR stage without all of the Heroes stuff. But it's definitely doable. I mean, you don't have to have every single Heroes unit, obviously. But if you don't have any of them, it's definitely going to be a little bit more difficult, but not impossible. And that's the point of making a guide, right? So let us go through the top picks and honorable mentions for the Super Saiyan 3 category. So starting off, we have Bardock. He is technically the main leader for Super Saiyan 3. He has the highest just pure Super Saiyan 3 leader skill, 3 key, HP 130, attack and defense 170. The only problem with him is he's a little bit outdated now. Attack and defense 100% when performing a super means that he's only good in slot 2 or 3 in terms of being able to take a hit, and even then 100% defense. If you think about the standard nowadays and how difficult ESBR is, that's not really a lot. Now, he has a chance to seal on super, which can be useful. It's very annoying that it's only a chance, but that definitely can be useful. And he can act as a support unit. When you're below 70% HP, he is giving everybody a 40% attack buff. So, as much as I love Super Saiyan 3 Bardock, he's not really the ideal leader, but he's the leader that I imagine a lot of people will be using, because he is the main category leader. But even though he has a slightly lower Super Saiyan 3 leader skill, I would say that the Angel Goku probably is the better leader. His leader skill is only lower by 20%, and that's for attack and defense. The HP is obviously 20% higher, so you are going to have a little bit more HP on the team than if you were running Bardock as the leader. And yeah, he starts off with attack and defense 100%, so that's already what Bardock is getting on super. But then the more HP you have remaining, the more defense he gets, up to a boost of 60%. You also get 30% attack and defense when attacking if you've picked up 3 or more orbs, which isn't that difficult. So, you know, he doesn't link super well with all of the other SS3s, because obviously he's a prepared for battle unit as opposed to a over in a flash, until he transforms. He transforms when facing only one enemy's HP is 80% or more starting from the 3rd turn. So basically the way this works, if you want to use this Goku and actually get him to transform, you need to prioritize on getting rid of the enemies so there's only one enemy left, rather than spreading out the damage across everyone. And then once he transforms, you can obviously get the chance to dodge when you pick up 3 orbs, effective against all types when you pick up 6 orbs. His defense boost goes up to being a max of 77% with the more HP you have remaining. So he's just a very solid unit once he's transformed. I mean, even if you're going to run Bardock as the leader, you could still run this guy on the team and he would still be pretty useful. Obviously, he'd be helped out by the fact that Bardock is a unit that has prepared for battle and over in a flash. So he's only a little bit wonky pre-transformation, and then obviously he becomes much, much better. So next up we have Super Saiyan 3 GT Vegeta. So obviously we're going to be talking about him and the physical one as well. The reason they're up next is because they did get a Super Saiyan 3 category lead like upgrade, so 120%. There is actually another better option, I guess, than using these guys, because 120 is not the highest. But if they're your last resort, if they're the only Super Saiyan 3 lead that you have, then 120 is not the worst leader skill. For me personally, I don't like using leads this low. That's why I always don't like the fact that summonable LRs have like a 130 lead, because I'd much rather run a 150 or a 170 team. But if they're the last resort lead, then there you have to use. But leader skill aside, going to be very, very good on the team. Raises attack by 50%, defense 30% for 6 turns. So after a couple of supers, defense is going to get a pretty significant buff. He starts off with attack and defense 120. He gets extra 60% attack and 30% defense for 6 turns after receiving an attack. And then he also gets an attack buff of 10%. And a defense and chance to crit of 5% with each attack received, up to a maximum of 60% attack, 30% defense. So basically, once he's been hit, 6 times, he's going to have an extra 30% defense. After receiving that first attack, he has an extra 30% defense for 6 turns. And then he also gets an extra 30% defense for 6 turns after super attacking. So it's quite easy to stack up a pretty solid amount of defense with him. And I've tried him out a little bit. Mine's almost fully link leveled. And running him under a 170 leader, he can hit like over 4 million attack stat whilst having very good defense. So he is a very solid unit to bring on the team. One of his best link partners is the Super Saiyan GT Vegeta, who obviously you can't run on this team. But he actually links up super well with this guy. I think they only have like one link that's different, because obviously this guy doesn't have GT. And this guy is very, very good as well. Raises attack and defense on super, has the same multiplier. Gets attack and defense 120, additional attack 10% up to 60, and defense and chance to crit 5 up to 30. So same as with each attack received, that part of their passive is the same. He has a medium chance to guard all attacks, and if HP is 60% or less, he has a high chance to guard all attacks. And when he's guarding, he gets 40% damage reduction. So it is unfortunate that he's one of those units that just doesn't guaranteed guard. But if you get the good RNG and he's actually guarding, then he's going to take barely any damage. So he can be very good. Obviously, if you get unlucky and you don't guard, then he can start to look a little bit worse. But he does still get a nice little bit of a defensive buff from his super and from receiving attacks in general. But, you know, his main thing is going to be the guard. So if that's not going off, he's not going to look as good. For me personally, I probably won't have this guy on my team because he's not link leveled. Whereas a lot of the other Super Saiyan 3s are. But he's definitely a very solid option, and like I say, can link up well with this guy, and also has the 120 leader skill. So next up, I thought we would talk about our boy LR Super Saiyan 3 Goku. Poor LR Super Saiyan 3 Goku. At one point was one of my favourite LRs. I think when he first released, he was the most hardest hitting unit in the game. But of course, very outdated now. His defense is still decent, 120 at the start of the turn, and obviously has LR stats. One of the strats you can use, which I did for the OG Super Saiyan 3 stage, is you can deliberately go for his 12 key super, which has a chance to stun, and then he doesn't lose any of his defense. Or if you can get him into a slot where he's not taking any hits, you can go for his 18 key super, where he is going to do a pretty solid amount of damage whilst losing a lot of his defense. But you obviously don't have to worry about him taking hits if you can get him into that kind of situation. Unfortunately, I think if you're operating with like the full deck of Super Saiyan 3, you have like all the heroes units and everything. I don't know if this guy even makes the team anymore, but he is a viable option if you need that final unit to fill the final slot on your team. So next up we have the old classic, aged like a fine wine. This Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta is probably one of the best aging units in terms of Super Battle Road. You can't really use him in long form events because after 10 turns, he basically loses the only part of his passive that makes him so good. But in Super Battle Road, you're probably never going to be able to go 10 turns. If you're at like turn 10, something has gone horribly wrong and you're not doing enough damage. I don't know how you'll complete the whole stage, to be honest. But damage reduction of 80% for 10 turns is crazy. He's going to take barely any damage when he gets hit. Even super attacks, he doesn't take that much damage. And then, of course, he has a 50% chance to stun on super attacks. So this guy is like a must run for Super Battle Road. Any Super Battle Road stage you can run him on, you probably should. And then obviously on this team, it's not going to be difficult for you to get like links and everything because you've got the full Super Saiyan 3 team. Over in a flash is abundant, so it's not going to be difficult for him to super. That 50% chance to stun is obviously, you know, that can come in clutch massively. And then the damage reduction is just so good. Like this guy, I cannot stress enough, like he's the must run. Like when you make your team, you pick your leader and then you put this guy on the team, right? And then you build the rest of the team. So he's just that good. Next up, we have the first of the heroes units. So we have the Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks Xeno Awakening. He raises attack and defense on super attack. He lowers attack with his super attack effect, which is obviously very good. He gets solid attack and defense at the start of the turn. And then he gets 30% extra attack and defense with each super attack performed up to 120. So he needs to super 4 times in order to be fully built up. But he gets a guaranteed additional super if there is another Dragon Ball Heroes ally on the rotation, or if the enemy is stunned or sealed. So obviously with the number of units that we're going to have available that can do those things, it's going to be very easy to get this off. Plus they added in the Dragon Ball Heroes ally part. So even if you don't have any status effects applied, if you have another Heroes ally on the rotation, he's going to get that guaranteed additional super. So not only is this good for building up his stats, but the fact that he lowers attack on super as well, very good. And then of course his counterpart is the Super Saiyan 3 Gohanks. The units are basically the same, except instead of lowering attack and defense, he seals, which is obviously very useful for Super Battle Road. And then he gets the guaranteed additional super again, whether there's a hero's ally or if the enemy is attack down or defense down, because they're made to work off of each other's abilities. So very easy to get that, especially because it now has the hero's ally part. So these guys going to be double supering basically every turn, sealing, attack lowering, very good. Then of course we have the Easy A Super Saiyan 3. So we have Trunks, we have Gohan, and we have Gotenks. So these 3 guys are all crazy good. Trunks, if his guard goes off, like he's a fantastic defensive unit. As he gets hit, obviously he builds up his attack power. Each time he attacks, he builds up more attack power. Like I did the showcase for this guy at level 10 links, and I think on his best turn, with like being hit first in slot 1, he's putting out like a 5 million attack stat while taking basically no damage. So very good for Super Battle Road. Obviously has like the extra link or 2 with the Vegeta, so having him and Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta together can work as a decent rotation. Although obviously you kind of want this guy to get hit first, but if his guard doesn't go off, that can be a little bit of a disadvantage. Whereas Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta is always going to be tanking really well and having that stun chance. So he's the more ideal slot 1 unit. But this guy, very strong tank for your team. Gohan is more offense based, but his defense is still good. He also seals the enemy super attack, so another good utility effect. He is kind of reliant on orbs. If you can pick up 7 orbs though, he has 30% damage reduction, which is good. 5 orbs gives him a chance to crit, and then obviously 3 orbs gives him a little bit of an attack and defensive buff. So you're getting all of those if you get the 7 orbs, and then he can look very impressive. I mean, especially for ESBR, you want to be getting those 7 orbs to get the damage reduction. But I think he's the worst of the 3 for something like Super Battle Road, because if you're not getting that damage reduction, his stats are still going to look decent, but he's not going to be like tanking super attacks with no items active like some of the other ones are. And then of course Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks, a lot of people consider him to be the best of the 3 Easy A's. He's very powerful when he's fully built up. For the first 5 turns, he has a 50% chance of launching an additional super. So obviously in Super Battle Road, this works perfectly. He can potentially triple super like every turn that he's on rotation. So he can put out a lot of damage. He's raising his attack and defense with each super. So obviously getting the multiple supers is very beneficial for him. Each super attack he performs is giving him a little bit of extra key in attack and defense as well for the first 3. So, I mean, if you get lucky and triple super in turn 1, he's basically fully built up on the first turn, and he's very powerful. So, the Super Saiyan 3 Easy A's from the Hero Celebration are Very, very good for this stage, unsurprisingly. So next up we have an honourable mention in the Easy A transforming Goku. This was the unit I mentioned earlier that actually, if you're missing one of the main Super Saiyan 3 category leaders, this guy has the Super Class Key 3 HP Attack and Defense 130. So rather than running one of the Vegetas that has a 120 lead as the leader, you could run this guy instead. He starts off with very solid stats, has damage reduction, raises defense on Super. Ideally, you'd probably just use him as the third slot floating unit, but he is a unit that can actually be decent on this stage because, especially after super attacking, with the defense that he has and the damage reduction, as well as the fact that he's getting an extra defensive buff when attacking extreme class enemies, which I'm sure every single enemy in the Super Saiyan 3 stage is. So he can actually be very effective. For me personally, just as like a personal quirk, I don't like to run units that aren't Super Saiyan 3s on the Super Saiyan 3 team. So I probably won't bring him for my run, but he's a very, very effective unit to bring on the team. Next up, we have the Super Saiyan 3 Xeno Goku. So he will probably get an Easy A next year, but he is still very, very good. He's not going to be doing a lot of damage, but especially if you're bringing the other heroes units. He's got decent defense, 100%. He guards guaranteed, so obviously that's very good. And then with each hero's ally on the team, he gets 7% damage reduction up to 35. So even, like, that includes himself as well. So he always has 7% damage reduction. If you're throwing the other heroes units on here, because you can basically run, apart from the leader, because you're either maybe going to use Bardock or the Angel Goku, the rest of your team is going to be heroes units. That's 5 heroes units. So he is going to have his full damage reduction. So 35% damage reduction on top of 100% defense and guarding. He's going to be really, really good. And he has a 50% chance to stun as well. So when you look at how powerful defensively the Super Saiyan 3 team can be now in Super Battle Road, you've got units like this guy, Trunks, and Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta, who are barely going to take any damage. And then this guy and Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta has a 50% chance to stun. We've got a bunch of units that can seal, a bunch of units that can lower attack. So if you have access to all of the heroes units, the Super Saiyan 3 team is pretty crazy looking. Next up we have Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks, the Easy A, moving into some of the non-heroes units. He's very good. He has a built-in chance to dodge, which obviously can come in clutch, and he does a lot of damage, especially if you can get the 11 key super, because that also gives him effective against all types. So basically he is just your hard-hitting machine for the team. Obviously you can get lucky with that RNG and get a bunch of dodges as well, so he can be a useful slot 1 unit if you're missing units that are good for that role, but you are relying on RNG in that case. But other than that, not much to say about him. He is just there to be a hard hitter. And then we have the base Gotenks. Now, you're never going to see him get to Super Saiyan 3, basically. Because on turn 3, he transforms into a Super Saiyan. And this is when he becomes really good for Super Battle Road. He greatly raises defense on Super, which is a 50% buff. He has a built-in chance to multiple Super. So obviously, if he has dupes or additional skill orbs, he can Super attack 3 times in 1 turn. Each one of them is raising that defense. And he has a 70% chance to stun on Super. The only time he looks kind of unimpressive is turn 1, because he only has 100% defense, and he still has the greatly raises defense on Super, but you're not really going to want him to get hit very much on turn 1. But he is a solid honourable mention as well. But yeah, once you get to Super Saiyan, you then need to wait 4 more turns to get to Super Saiyan 3. So that's basically never going to happen. So he's going to be the unit on your team that it never gets to Super Saiyan 3 on the Super Saiyan 3 stage. So looking back at the team here, I don't know if there's anyone specifically that we missed in terms of like really powerful units. I guess this guy got his Easy A on Global fairly recently and is a very strong unit post Easy A. He is a unit that can stun as well, which can be very useful. He changes orbs to rainbow and then gets the extra bit of attack and defense per rainbow orb. That could work well in conjunction if you are using the Easy A in Super Saiyan 3 Gohan as well, because by creating rainbow orbs all over the field, you're making it easier to get 7 orbs for him. So he's very solid. He's definitely an honourable mention. If you're missing on some of the heroes units, then he is obviously going to be a very solid choice to fill that final slot on the team. So other than that, there's no one who really stands out. Like the Xeno Vegeta, unfortunately, is just not good enough defensively. Super Saiyan 3 Broly, I mean, we don't really talk about him. I mean, I guess you could use a strategy where you bring a lot of items like Ghost Ushers and like the tech nuking items, but realistically, he's going to be more of a liability than he's worth. And then none of the other Super Saiyan 3s really hold up to, like, the current meta that we've talked about. I guess this guy, the GT one, his defense and everything is pretty terrible, but he's a support unit who then can also transform and give you a couple of turns of free damage. But even then, like, he's so weak as a Great Ape in this meta that, like, he's not really going to be that useful. So this stage is going to vary in difficulty based on your heroes units, but this one definitely could be a very easy one if you did get a lot of the heroes units. So let me know what your team is going to be for Super Saiyan 3 down below in the comment section. Okay, there you go. So that is going to conclude this guide. Make sure, like I said at the start, you let me know down below if there's a unit that I didn't talk about or you think I should have talked in more detail about, and we can discuss that further in the comments, and let me know what your team is going to look like. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Master Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below for the Discord and the merch store, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.